about the news. TikTok got sold to a U.S. company endorsed by Donald Trump.
Here to stay. The popular social media app says it's completed a deal to spin off its U.S. operations, ending
This happened a couple of days ago, by the way. But obviously everything was happening in what's it called? Minnesota.
Battle over Chinese spying concerns. The company says the new U.S. joint venture will operate under defined safeguards that protect data security. Now President Trump is celebrating the deal, saying the app will now be owned by a group of great American patriots and investors. Let's bring in ABC's Elizabeth Schulze and foreign correspondent Britt Clennett in Hong Kong. Hi to you both. So, Elizabeth, how is this deal going to work, and what does it mean for TikTok users?
And Diane, this is really the end of a drama that you and I have been talking about for years, this battle over a ban on TikTok. What it means is that TikTok will be available for the more than 200 million users in the U.S., 7 million businesses, both big and small, that rely on this app. How this works is that TikTok will now be owned by a group of investors, mostly based out of China. So those investors include an investment firm based in the UAE, a private equity firm called Silver Lake, Michael Dell's family office, and then Oracle, which will be basically in charge of storing and protecting TikTok's data and its algorithm. So how this all stems from that 2014 law that was passed by Congress that said that TikTok needed to cut its ties.
Wait, what? Did she just say 2014?
Data and its algorithm. So how this all stems from that 2014
She meant 2024.
law that was passed by Congress that said that TikTok needed to cut its ties with its Chinese parent company or risk a ban in the U.S. That law was passed with broad bipartisan support. It was upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. Remember, when that ban was taking effect, we saw that brief 14
Bro, this is what people are watching in the U.S. Chinese TikToks.
hour period
So disingenuous showing Chinese TikToks.
where TikTok actually did black out in the U.S., and then President Trump kind of delayed the enforcement of the ban several times until this deal was finally reached. So the bottom line is this.
Wait, what's going on? TikTok was sold to a U.S. investors, basically U.S. company. Well, we'll get through this and then I'll give you my thoughts.
That TikTok will be able to continue operating in the U.S., at least for now.
And Britt, this started with Congress banning TikTok over concerns that China could access American
That's why
users'
it's
data.
tweaking.
Does this eliminate?
Yeah, I've noticed some issues with TikTok. Even going live on TikTok, it's been just tweaking more often, and I think that's part of the problem.
Those concerns entirely?
Well, I think that's a big question. 200 million Americans use this platform, and it concludes a years-long effort to ease concerns that it posed a national security risk. Well, for TikTok, it says it will operate under defined safeguards that protect a national security through data protections, algorithm security, content moderation, and software assurances.
That's the big one, content moderation.
For those 200 million American users. And yes, the transfer of user data, it does help ease some worries because that data will now be housed with U.S. servers under the American entity that includes Oracle. However, the algorithm is licensed to the U.S. to be retrained in the U.S., but the source code for the algorithm is still owned by China. So potentially it could still be manipulated. Now, those are some of the big questions.
Shut up. Shut up, dude. Seriously? Seriously, we're talking about Trump endorsing the company that is buying TikTok, and we're saying it's still owned by China, so there's an option of manipulation. Are we fucking serious? There's no other glaring issue here?
Questions that remain surrounding this deal, and as I say, 200 million users probably with similar questions, and as Elizabeth was saying, this has been quite a drama, quite an ordeal, and to finally see this concluded, certainly a relief from those TikTok users.
And Britt, how's China reacting to this?
Yeah, so we heard from the Chinese Foreign Ministry today saying that their position has been consistent. It didn't directly address the question asked in the Foreign Ministry, but it reiterated its line that their reaction throughout this whole thing has been muted to very much keep some distance between ByteDance and the parent company, ByteDance, the parent company, and the Chinese government, playing it off as this private transaction throughout this whole ordeal. But it has officially thrown its support behind ByteDance. Officially, it must be said, Diane.
Elizabeth, what are you watching for as this deal takes effect?
Well, so as Britt mentioned, the algorithm ultimately is still kind of what is happening as part of this is the U.S. is basically leasing the algorithm, and this release that TikTok put out, it says it will retrain the algorithm. So one question we have is, will that actually change the experience at all for people who use TikTok? We know that the algorithm is basically the crown jewel, the secret sauce of why people stay on the app, use it so much. So that's a question going forward. Probably not something people would notice immediately. You know, if you go on the app today, it's unlikely you would see any
Yeah, where it tracks our location too. Yep.
major changes
We'll get into that.
there. The other thing to keep watching is, ultimately, does this kind of reinforce, do we continue to see these concerns about Chinese-owned apps going forward? This has been such a pawn, Diane, kind of in this broader trade conversation between the U.S. and China. It seems that there's been an agreement now. President Trump overnight did put out a post praising President Xi for basically giving his blessing to this deal, but it doesn't change the fact that there are still those very underlying trade tensions between the U.S. and China. Just one note is that this does apply to some other ByteDance-owned apps that are really popular for people who use TikTok for editing. So like CapCut, Lemonade, those are also included as part of this deal, Diane.
Yeah,
Elizabeth
'cause
Schulze,
people
Britt
use
Bennett, Thank
those.
you.
So, TikTok and ByteDance struck an agreement with the established U.S.-based version of the app from Oracle. There is going to be the thing about it is, where is it? I'm so happy to help save TikTok. It'll now be owned by great American patriots and investors. And we're just not talking about this. Biggest in the world and will be an important voice. Scrutiny has centered on Fade TikTok's algorithm. Under agreement, US TikTok will retain, test, and update the content recommendations algorithm on US user data. We will see a fuck ton of censorship on TikTok going forward. Like, so much. If this would have happened, like, before 2023 even, like, the amount of, like, content coming out about Palestine would have been immediately stifled in the US. There will be so much restriction on the ability for people to make content that is in criticism of the US government. And it's not that you won't be able to make it. The algorithm will not favor it. It will go nowhere and it'll get shadow banned. Silver Lake, Silver Lake is a private equity company. Which, I mean, they have stakes in like everything, like Dell and other big companies, which have huge capital interest and ties to the president. Given the company's individuals are part of the deal, very close ties to the Trump admin, it begs the question whether we're trading one form of undue state influence for another. Professor who specializes in national security investment in Indiana University. The thing is that, like, China does not fucking care as much. The Chinese government is more like a technocratic oligarchy rather than a fascist capital-owned group of small firms, or fascistic oligarchs. There we go. Fucking Christ. Clear look at the algorithm is showing today. They don't want the algorithm to start pushing this. They don't want new owners' agendas. TBH, I would rather have China have my info than the US. Yeah, because here's the announcement from TikTok themselves. USDS joint venture LLC has established compliant executive order, now enabling more than 200 million Americans and 7.5 million businesses to continue to discover, disgrade. Yeah. U.S. user data will be protected by USDS joint venture and Oracle's secure U.S. cloud environment. The joint venture will operate a comprehensive data privacy cybersecurity program that is audited and certified by third-party cybersecurity experts. I mean, the thing about it is we know how good... Thank you. Appreciate it. Boris got me food. We know how good and secure and protective of the American people American data companies are. Facebook, Meta, Google, Amazon. This guy, David Leavitt. It's like so fucking obvious. Ineligible for recommendation. Lower viewer counts than he normally gets. It is going to be very not good. I don't want to say the same thing over and over again, but this is a very scary, like, real, like, censorship of media. in the US that we haven't seen in a long time. Probably not since 9/11. TikTok is under news, censored and monitored. I'm not able to upload anything. Top thread on popular TikTok subreddit should be delete TikTok en masse. Warned of new ownership's affiliation, dozens of users. Some users' policy related the day the deal is finalized. Yes, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Some users also said TikTok's updated privacy policy released the same day it was finalized, or the day the deal was finalized, added their hesitancy around the new platform, added to their hesitancy around embracing the new platform under new ownership. No, made people fearful. Users discovered the new policy disclosed that TikTok could access user sensitive personal information, including citizenship or immigration status. They will be selling this data to ICE. There is no other reason for this, as well as precise location data. Yeah. And it's not new, but they, like, under this, like, right here, it's not new. But they will be selling this information to ICE. I guarantee this information is being sold. It will be sold to ICE. And I don't even remember. Most of them are pretty standard. Precise location data. I mean, you can just say you can disable most of this anyways. But I'm more so worried about the ability for the government to have a direct hand in the censorship of information. Like where we just saw it. Where the fuck did it go? This is so obvious. And they don't even care to censor, like, hide it. Like, they don't care to do it slowly. It makes me, like, honestly, genuinely want to... Jesus. Oh, I got something like this as well. I'm not, Jesus fucking Christ. It's pretty fucking scary. And I could see this laying the groundwork for other social media platforms. I mean, we know Twitter already sells data like this, so it's scary. What's the best way to prevent censorship? I mean, there's really nothing that you can do directly, like making laws against it. Because you can make, like, oh, this hard water that's cold organization, but once they catch on to it, they're gonna shut it down. There's genuinely not a whole lot you can do, unfortunately. I can't think of anything directly that you could do. Sites like Twitter, at least, like, it's a cesspool. I mean, they shut down stuff that's pro-Palestine constantly, but it's not going to be as bad as TikTok. And I'll never use Blue Sky. I have zero desire to use Blue Sky. Also, by the way, Democrats want this. Democrats are okay with this, by the way. Democrats endorse this move. Blue Sky was pretty woke. Yeah, it's woke, but it's also boring as hell. And also impossible to make a fucking account. Because there's like, Democrats are obvious, like, Democrats would want the US to own TikTok. Like, Democrats were in favor of the TikTok ban. I actually think everybody under the age of 18 shouldn't be allowed, or 16, 18. I don't think anybody under the age of 18 should be allowed to use TikTok. I know the ALA has good tips on fighting censorship, but there's not a whole lot you can do at this level. Like, if you had censorship in the sense of, like, oh, there's a local library doing something, or your local newspaper would report it, but this is, like, blatantly out there and very obvious. There's not a whole lot we can do about this except for make sure Democrats don't continue this. Especially because of how addictive it is. No, yeah, I don't think people under the age of 18 should be allowed on social media. like I'm in favor of the Australia movement, but also nanny state. I don't know how Australia is doing it exactly, but I mean, I don't like Australia that much, but like compulsorily vote, like forcing people to vote, otherwise face a fee without a written excuse, kind of in favor of that. Dems on. Well, we'll see. There's also like no alternative to TikTok. I mean, if I shut down my TikTok page, I don't know. Maybe I'll find an alternative, but maybe not. I'll be surprised. I want Democrats to like push against this. I would rather like let's just ban TikTok rather than this shit. And I do use TikTok, but I think it should be banned straight up.